I never thought that bringing cookies to my own daughter's house on Christmas Eve would end with the door slammed in my face. I never thought I'd be told at 67, with a healing hip and nowhere else to go, that my whiny presence was ruining her influencer livestream. But that's exactly what happened. I was still holding the tray when the door closed so hard it rattled the wreath. Jenna's laugh, shrill and theatrical, echoed through the walls behind me. I heard the music rise, some polished, generic jingle, and the ding of her ring light being adjusted. My name didn't matter. My pain didn't register. The show had resumed. And there I stood, Esther Morgan, retired postal worker, full-time mother, temporary houseguest, permanent inconvenience. It was snowing. Not gently, not like in the movies. Real Midwest snow, heavy and fast. I clutched the foil-wrapped tray against my coat, the heat from the oven still warming the bottom. I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I just stood there like a discarded prop. No one noticed. Jenna had over 900 people watching her stream. "Christmas with just us girls," she chirped. I was never part of us. 10 minutes earlier, I had asked her, quietly, if she needed help with her daughter's bedtime. Lily had been cranky all afternoon, overtired and overstimulated. I thought, maybe. She just needed a story, a hand to hold. That's when Jenna snapped. "You're always hovering, Mom. Always tired. Always looking sad. Just go sit somewhere and don't ruin the vibe." I had nodded, trying not to let it sting. But I guess I didn't disappear fast enough. When I stepped into the background of her live stream to place the cookies on the counter, she turned, eyes wide with performative rage, and hissed, "Seriously, can you just not?" Then the door, then the cold. And now, silence. It wasn't even my house. It was hers, the home I had co-signed on after my surgery, thinking I'd only stay 3 months tops. I paid for groceries, kept Lily's school schedule in order, even gave Jenna money toward the heating bill when her brand partnerships didn't come through last fall. I never complained. Not once. I told myself I was helping, that Jenna was just under pressure, that if I stayed quiet, patient, useful, I'd remain wanted. But standing there, in that cold, I realized I hadn't been wanted in a long, long time. I wasn't a mother anymore. I was a burden with a limp and no filter. A punchline for her social media audience. A shadow to edit out of the highlight reel. I turned and shuffled down the porch steps slowly, feeling the ice beneath my boots. No plan. No destination. Just this tray of cookies I no longer had anyone to give to. And maybe it sounds small. Petty, even. Getting kicked out for standing in the background. But it wasn't just that moment. It was every ignored thank you. Every eye roll. Every time she told me to smile more when I was just existing. What is love without respect? I had asked myself that question once, when her father walked out in '99 and never looked back. I raised her alone. I didn't have the luxury of quitting. I worked double shifts, packed school lunches, stayed up late sewing recital costumes by hand because she didn't want to be the poor girl with nothing. And now I was the poor woman with nothing, not even a place at the table. I made it to the sidewalk before the tears came. But I didn't turn around. I knew if I looked back, I'd crumble. Somewhere deep inside, a voice whispered, "You don't deserve this. Not again. Not like this." And for the first time in a long time, I listened. I should have seen it coming the day she asked me to sign that temporary cohabitation form. "It's just for legal stuff, Mom. In case of taxes or whatever," she said, casually flipping her hair and turning back to her lighting setup. I had just come out of surgery. My hip throbbed with every step, and Jenna said moving in would help both of us. So I signed. Turns out, that form wasn't about taxes. It was her way of making sure I had no claim to anything, not even the guest room I paid to renovate. The same guest room she now used as a set for her night routines with baby girl. Back then, I told myself I was helping. I paid the water bill, covered groceries, and stayed up rocking my granddaughter when Jenna stayed out late doing brand dinners. I told myself I was needed. But now I see what I really was, invisible labor, background noise in her curated little tragedy. She'd started referring to me as her roommate in videos. Yeah, I live with my roommate. She's older, super sweet, but like very old school. Every time I heard her say that, something in my chest twisted. I wasn't her roommate. I was her mother. But no one in her world wanted to hear from a mother who bled for her kids. They wanted redemption arcs, villainous parents, and a pretty girl crying on camera about being, quote, emotionally unsupported. And Jenna gave them what they wanted. 1 week before Christmas, I was folding onesies when I heard her whispering outside my door. She acts all helpless, but it's so performative. She's actually super manipulative, she said, laughing with her friend on speaker. I mean, she offered to pay for the Christmas tree, just so I wouldn't go live that day. I sat there holding a soft pink onesie in my lap, my ears ringing. She hadn't said my name, but she didn't need to. The shame sank in like cold water. She wasn't just excluding me, she was rewriting me. And I had helped her do it. I had filmed cameos when she asked, smiled when I felt like crying, and answered parenting questions in her comments under the guise of, "My sweet old roommate Esther has some wise advice." She didn't want a mother, she wanted a talking prop. I stopped offering to help with content after that night. I told myself it was a boundary. Jenna called it moodiness, said I was ruining her energy. The next week, she posted a video titled, "How to Stay Positive Around Toxic People During the Holidays." I was in the background of that clip, blurry, holding a box of ornaments. When she slammed the door on me Christmas Eve, it wasn't the door that hurt. It was the fact that my granddaughter, my sweet 8-year-old light, didn't even notice I was gone. She was too busy singing along to the TikTok dances her mom had taught her, mimicking poses, holding products, smiling for the camera. I had raised Jenna with love, with dinners from scratch and long nights helping with homework. Now she was raising her own daughter on ring lights, filters, and monetized emotion. And somehow, I was the problem. That night, I slept in a recliner at a neighbor's house. Monica, sweet woman, widowed, kind. She opened the door in fuzzy slippers and didn't ask a single question. She just said, "You come inside now, Esther. No one treats a mother like that." She made hot tea and let me cry into my own silence. And right then, something settled inside me. Not rage, not revenge, but a decision. Jenna wanted a story. I'd give her one. But it would be the truth this time. It was after midnight when I heard it again. Jenna's voice, casual, cruel, playing through Monica's laptop. She used to be a nurse, yeah, but she acts like she's still saving lives or something. It's like, just chill, Grandma. Go read a book or something. She was live again, laughing, sipping wine in her little Santa onesie. The chat was eating it up. "Boomer alert," someone typed. "She guilt trips you so hard, loudly crying," another wrote. And Jenna? She just smiled. She's got this whole "I sacrificed everything for my child" vibe going on. Like, "Okay, you want a medal?" Her friend on the stream laughed. "You should do a skit. Pretend to be her. Milk those views." "Oh, I will," Jenna said, smirking. "I'm working on a whole toxic elder series for January." She looked right into the camera. She thinks she's helping, but honestly, I keep her around for the sympathy bump. Sad moms get clicks. That was the moment something broke. Not like a snap, no. More like a final thread quietly tearing in the dark. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I opened a notepad file and started writing. Paid electric bill. October 5th, covered groceries. November 10th, provided $700 for car repair. That was actually a PR package. Signed cohabitation doc. November 18th, eviction date. December 24th, live stream timestamp 1 hour, 12 minutes, and 47 seconds. That last one was Monica's doing. She had pulled up the stream right after I walked in, stunned and shivering, and quietly hit screen record. "That's not just humiliation," she whispered. "That's evidence." Monica worked as a paralegal for over 15 years before retiring. She knew things, quiet things, useful things. By the next morning, she had 3 folders ready on her desktop. 1. Financial contributions. Esther Chapter 2. Public defamation. Jenna streams 3. Property residency rights. I stared at the screen. At the neat little file icons lined up like soldiers. Monica turned to me and said, "You don't have to fight. But if you want to be seen, we start here." Later that night, while she slept, I tiptoed back into the guest room and clicked through Jenna's old videos. I watched every clip that had my name or my roommate in it. There was a pattern. Every time her follower count dipped, or she got called out for something dumb, a sponsorship gone wrong, a tone-deaf caption, a viral dance she copied, she'd drop a toxic mom story. And her views? Always shot back up. My trauma had become her content cycle, my pain, her algorithm. In one clip, she cried into the camera saying I used to make her feel worthless and too sensitive growing up. Cut to a video of me decorating her birthday cake when she was 7, my voice soft and patient. "That's it, sweetheart. Press the candies down gently. You've got the steadiest hands." That's when I started saving the videos, downloading, timestamping, matching every accusation with the receipt she hadn't deleted. She'd painted me as a leech, a bitter woman living rent-free. She didn't tell them I'd paid for her last 2 car insurance premiums. Didn't show the text begging for money after losing a brand deal. "Mom, please, just a couple $100 to get through the week. I swear I'll pay you back." She never did. I wasn't just the background character. I was the ghostwriter of her whole struggling single mom aesthetic. And I was done being quiet. Monica came in the next morning with coffee and said gently, "We need more than screenshots. We need someone who knows how to broadcast truth." She had someone in mind. A small YouTube channel run by a woman named Tara, ex-journalist, now internet sleuth. "She exposes fake influencers," Monica said, sipping from her mug. "And she doesn't scare easy." I didn't say yes, but I didn't say no. Instead, I whispered, "I think it's time someone live-streamed my side." Monica made eggs and toast the next morning like it was a normal day. Like I hadn't been thrown out of my daughter's house on Christmas Eve. Like I wasn't waking up on a borrowed couch with a borrowed toothbrush. She slid a mug across the table and said, "I've been watching your daughter's videos for hours. Esther, this isn't just embarrassment, it's defamation." I stared into the steam rising from my coffee. The mug had tiny birds painted on it, delicate and blue. So different from Jenna's house, where everything was sterile white and aesthetic for the feed, no life, no warmth, just the illusion of both. She said I was manipulative, I murmured, still stunned by it, that I played victim for sympathy. Monica didn't flinch. "And now we're going to give her a reason to regret saying that." Tara from the YouTube channel responded within hours. Turns out, she already had Jenna on a watch list. Influencers who used personal sob stories to climb engagement ladders while quietly mistreating people behind the scenes. "She's got a following, sure," Tara said during our first Zoom call. "But those kinds of followings are fickle. They love a rise, but they live for a fall." She asked if I was willing to talk. "Not for revenge," I said. "I'm not out to ruin her. But I won't let her keep painting me like a leech while living off my money and my silence." Tara nodded. "We'll protect your identity." Voice modulation. Blurred face. "You'll be anonymous." But heard. Something in me unlocked at those words. Heard. I had spent years being invisible. First, as a wife. Then as a widowed mother. Then, as Jenna's unwanted roommate. I didn't want fame. I didn't even want sympathy. I wanted someone, anyone, to say, "That wasn't right." We recorded the interview in Monica's kitchen. Tara sent the equipment, just a small mic and a webcam filter. Monica handled the tech. I sat at the table in the same sweater I wore when Jenna shut the door on me. I told my story carefully, plainly. Not with tears or drama, but with the quiet grief of a mother realizing she'd raised someone who saw her only as leverage. "She told people I was controlling," I said in the recording, But I was the one paying the bills while she chased validation in comments sections. I shared the texts, the Venmo records, the cohabitation form she tricked me into signing. I read the captions where she called me a mooch and emotionally draining. Then I showed the video from her live stream. The moment she smiled, turned up the music, and locked me out in 12-degree weather. Monica watched from the side with her arms crossed. She didn't interrupt once, but I saw her eyes go red. Tara uploaded the video a week later. The mother behind the filter. One influencer's hidden truth. It didn't go viral at first. Jenna's fans were loyal, quick to dismiss it. She's just bitter. She's probably lying. Why hide her face if she's telling the truth? But Tara was smart, patient. She followed up 2 days later with part 2, receipts and red flags. This time, she played side-by-side clips, Jenna claiming I never helped, right next to text screenshots begging me for help. Audio of Jenna saying I was manipulative, followed by footage of me giving her grocery money and whispering, "I believe in you, sweetheart." The comments started to shift. Wait, this doesn't add up. She really kicked her mom out on Christmas Eve? Why does Jenna lie so easily? I didn't celebrate. I didn't gloat. I just sat at Monica's kitchen table, hands wrapped around a mug, and said, I think this is the first time anyone's believed me without me having to beg. And Monica? She smiled softly and said, it's not the last. It started with a mug, one of those white ceramic ones with gold cursive, Resilient Queen Dizzy. It was in the background of one of Jenna's older vlogs. She was crying, again, mascara streaked just right, telling her followers how she had, quote, escaped a toxic parent who used guilt and money to control everything. I remember the night she filmed that. She'd just spent the afternoon on the phone with me, begging for help with her overdue car payment. I sent the $450, without hesitation. She called me the best mom in the world. That was 2 hours before she filmed herself sobbing in a hoodie, sipping from that damn mug and saying, sometimes you have to love people from a distance, even if they raised you. She was talking about me. And I hadn't even known it. I started watching her old content late at night when Monica had gone to bed. I didn't do it for curiosity. I did it like someone flipping through a diary they didn't know they'd been part of, looking for the part where the lies began. And they were everywhere. One week, she'd say her mom was my rock. She moved in to help after my surgery. The next, she'd cry on camera, I had to take my daughter and leave that house. I couldn't breathe with my mother constantly hovering, judging. I watched as she built a digital house of mirrors, where I was never the same person twice. One day I was her savior. The next, her saboteur, when she missed a brand deadline and got dropped from a campaign. She posted a reel about being mentally drained from family drama. When followers questioned why she went on vacation while claiming to be broke, she posted a story about how my mom made me feel so guilty, I booked the trip out of spite just to breathe. Every bad decision became my shadow, and every rebound became her strength. She never once said my name, but I didn't have to hear it. The outline of her villain was drawn from my silhouette. It made me sick. Not just because it hurt, but because of what it was teaching my granddaughter. I saw her in one of the vlogs, barely 8, but already posing with perfect posture, parroting back lines like, sometimes people pretend to love you, but they're just scared of your power. That was something Jenna had said about me. She was teaching her daughter to smile for the camera and vilify anyone who didn't worship her spotlight, even if that person was the one holding the house together behind the scenes. I made another folder that night, Narrative versus Reality, Esther Files. It had split-screen clips, Jenna saying I never believed in her dreams, next to a video of me handing her a ring light and saying, I'm proud of you. Go chase your future. Her telling fans I stole money from her savings, overlaid with the receipts of me depositing $1,200 to cover her overdraft. Her saying I abandoned her as a child, right next to a scanned letter she wrote in 7th grade that said, I love how you're always there after school, even when you're tired. I wasn't doing this for clicks. I was building a timeline. Because if I was going to burn down this false narrative, I needed every match in my hand ready. Tara reached out the next morning. "Part 3's almost done," she said. "But if you're willing, we'd like to show just how often she's flipped the script." "I have timestamps," I said. "And I have motive." She hesitated. "You sure this won't hurt more than it heals?" I thought about my granddaughter. About the next time, Jenna got caught in a lie and needed a scapegoat. "She's hurt me for years," I said. "Let me finally return the favor, just with the truth." The therapist's office was tucked behind the fellowship hall of a small brick church, half hidden by an old oak tree. No fanfare, no cross on the wall. Just mismatched chairs, a table of stale cookies, and soft voices that asked nothing but, "How did that make you feel?" It had been Monica's idea. "You've got so much packed in that chest of yours. It's a wonder you're still standing," she said. So I went. Not because I needed to talk, but because I needed to not be alone with everything I'd swallowed. The group was small. 4 women, 2 men, all older, all carrying something they hadn't dared unpack until now. One had been left by her husband after 43 years. One hadn't spoken to her son since the pandemic. And me? My daughter threw me out of her house on Christmas Eve because I didn't fit the aesthetic of her live stream. I said flatly. No one gasped. No one blinked. The counselor, a woman with warm eyes and a voice like sandpaper, just said, "Tell us what you were feeling in that moment." I didn't know how to answer. Because in that moment, I had felt nothing. Not yet. Not rage. Not grief. Not shame. But the days that followed, they buried me. I told them about the cohabitation papers she made me sign. About the groceries, the gas money, the sleep I lost babysitting while she chased hashtags and mental wellness brand deals. I told them about the peppermint bark she threw out still sealed. And then I said the thing I'd been afraid to admit even to Monica. I taught her to be this way. The room was quiet, but not judging. I gave her everything, never made her work for it, thought I was protecting her. Thought I was making up for the fact that she never had a father who stuck around. I looked down at my hands, wrinkled, calloused, and still holding guilt like it was my last precious thing. I let her believe love was supposed to come wrapped in sacrifice. I made it too easy to use me. The counselor leaned forward and said the first thing that pierced through. Love without boundaries becomes servitude. I went home that night to Monica's guest room, sat on the floor, and cried harder than I had in years. Not for Jenna, but for the woman I used to be, the one who thought being needed was the same as being loved. That night, I stopped writing revenge in my notebook and wrote justice. Jenna wasn't going to learn anything from being exposed, but maybe someone else would. Maybe a quiet woman watching from her own guest room or her own lonely couch would see the truth and say, "I don't have to take this anymore either." I wasn't trying to ruin Jenna. I was trying to save myself. And maybe, finally, stop apologizing for being hurt by people I'd carried. They still called me a liar. Even after I showed up with voice notes and timestamps, they clung to her carefully filtered fiction like it was scripture. She's probably faking those texts. Anyone can Photoshop a Venmo receipt. Why hide her face if she's so innocent? I should have expected it. When a person builds a platform on pain, people treat any contradiction like a personal attack. They weren't just defending Jenna. They were defending the version of themselves they found in her story. But here's the thing about stories. The truth doesn't need you to believe it. It just needs to be told. So I opened the folder. Not the one on Monica's laptop, the one I'd kept in a shoebox under my bed for years. Bank statements, letters, handwritten notes from Jenna back when she still called me Mama instead of my toxic relative. One stood out. "Mama, I know I can always count on you. I feel safe when you're around." Written in crayon. Age 9. Back when she needed me, before she learned she could replace need with applause. I scanned every document, every money transfer. I made a spreadsheet. Labeled each transaction by month, reason, and method. October 2022. Jenna. Rent shortfall, -$600. Zelle. November 2022. Jenna. Groceries, minus $125, Venmo. January 2023. Jenna. Emergency dentist, minus $300 cash withdrawn at Walgreens ATM. I had sent her money nearly every month for the last 2. And I was still the leech? Monica helped me sync the documents with clips from Jenna's channel. Her. My mom hasn't helped me in years. Overlay. Deposit receipt dated 5 weeks prior. Her. I had to escape a suffocating home life. Overlay. Video of her laughing in the kitchen while I held her baby. And she called me her rock. Her. She made me feel like I owed her everything. Overlay. Text message. Mom, please help me one more time. I'll pay you back. The audio alone was enough to gut the whole act. Tara posted it in part 3, the proof files. No dramatics, just evidence. Facts lined up like nails in a coffin Jenna built herself. And this time, it worked. The shift was sudden. A top comment read, I defended Jenna. I feel sick watching this now. Another, okay, I was wrong. This isn't a story of survival. It's exploitation of her own mother. Her fan base cracked, then splintered. People started reposting my words. My voice, modulated and blurred, became more believable than her teary ringlet monologues. Jenna tried to fight back. Posted a video titled, My Side of the Story. 10 minutes of vague half-apologies wrapped in self-pity. Everyone's just trying their best. I've had a really difficult year. Mental health is hard. She never denied the receipts. She never addressed the money. She never named me, because she knew she couldn't refute me without inviting a war she'd already lost. The comments turned cold. Apologize to your mother. It's always mental health when you get caught. Where's your proof, Jenna? I didn't smile when I saw them. I didn't need to. I had never wanted revenge. Just truth. Served clean. No edits. No filters. No followers needed. That night, Monica and I sat outside on her little porch. The sky was cold and clear. She handed me a glass of cider and said, They believe you now. I shook my head. That's not the part that matters. What does? That I finally believe me. And I did. For the first time in decades, I wasn't asking anyone for permission to feel betrayed. I wasn't trying to win back a daughter who traded my love for internet clout. I had proof now. Not to shame her, but to protect myself from ever doubting my reality again. I sat at Monica's desk in silence, staring at the file in my hand. It was a manila envelope, thick and plain, but it held the end of the story Jenna didn't think I'd tell. Inside were 3 things. The money transfer receipts totaling just under $9,000 over 2 years. A copy of the eviction notice Jenna had failed to forward, one she was legally required to tell me about when we cohabitated. And finally, the cohabitation agreement she pressured me into signing with her digital signature added after mine. Monica had spotted it first. This timestamp is wrong, she muttered, squinting. She uploaded your signed version to DocuSign, then added her own signature 3 hours later, after she'd already modified the document terms. Meaning? She changed the terms after you signed. That's fraud. I stared down at the paper, my hands steady. All that time I'd felt foolish, powerless, like maybe I really had just been a burden. Turns out, I had been defrauded, lied to, and thrown out of my own legal residence without notice. It wasn't just immoral. It was criminal. I emailed the documents to Tara that night. Subject line, final proof, use what you need. No emotion, no monologue, just the receipts. The video dropped 2 days later. Part 4, paper trail to nowhere. Tara's tone was sharper now. Still fair, but no longer charitable. We've talked about stories. Now let's talk about law. She walked viewers through the altered lease. The hidden eviction notice Jenna never delivered, resulting in Esther's displacement. She showed a freeze frame of the altered signature timestamp. People lost it. The comments were on fire. This is illegal. She committed actual fraud on her own mother. I stuck up for Jenna. I was wrong. Screenshots went viral. Clips circulated on TikTok with the hashtag #ChristmasGrandma. People were stitching her old videos, mocking the fake tears, the curated trauma. One post had 2.3 million views in 12 hours. Movie camera Jenna. Sometimes family hurts you the most. Speech balloon. Comment. Girl, you hurt your mom so badly, she had to get receipts notarized. I didn't laugh. I didn't clap. I just sat at Monica's table and finally, felt the pressure lift off my chest like a stone rolled off a tomb. Because this wasn't about revenge anymore. This was accountability. Jenna tried to fight back, posted a live stream. I never meant to hurt anyone. My truth is still valid. Just because someone has receipts doesn't mean their story is pure either. But this time, no one took the bait. Even her most loyal fans started jumping ship. One by one, her sponsors pulled out. A makeup line canceled their partnership. The parenting podcast she was scheduled to guest on? Gone. The comments on her posts? Brutal. Tell your mom you're sorry. Return the money or shut up. We believed you. We won't again. She lost over 40,000 followers in a week. The brand she'd built on curated struggle was unraveling, not because I tore it down, but because she built it on my back and I finally stood up. Tara sent me a message. Esther, you changed the way people talk about influencer narratives. Quiet women everywhere are finding their voice because of you. I didn't respond. Not because I wasn't grateful, but because I needed the silence to soak in something deeper. I didn't just survive this. I exposed it. And I did it with truth, not tantrum. Later that night, Monica and I sat on the porch again. I watched the stars blink through the cold sky. Feels like something's over, I said. Monica shook her head. No, Esther. It's just beginning. They started emailing Tara's channel the next morning. Podcast hosts, freelance journalists, a daytime talk show in New York. We'd love to have Esther come on and speak her truth. Is she willing to go public? Could she show her face for just a few minutes? Some of the messages used words like heroic or viral matriarch. Suddenly I wasn't whiny or killing the vibe. I was a symbol, a headline, a story. Funny how quickly people flip when the crowd flips first. I stared at one message for a long time. It was from a channel that had reposted Jenna's live stream back in December, the one where she shut me out with peppermint bark in my hands. Back then, their title was Influencers Sad Christmas, Toxic Mom Drama Goes Viral Grimace. Now, turns out Grandma was the victim all along, hands clapping, hands clapping, hands clapping. I didn't reply. You could do it, Monica said carefully. Go on a podcast. Get your own platform. People are finally listening. I don't need them to listen, I said, folding laundry on her guest room bed. I needed them to stop clapping for my mistreatment. That's the difference. I didn't want attention. I wanted oxygen. And I finally had it. The irony was, Jenna started messaging again too. Not directly. She knew better than to text me after forging my signature and locking me out of my own co-owned house. But she posted a story. People change. People make mistakes. I still believe family is worth healing for. Some things don't belong on the internet. Too late, sweetheart. You built your brand on making everything belong on the internet. Now that the truth was yours too, you didn't like the lighting. What none of them realized was that silence had always been my weapon, not my weakness. I had been the quiet one, the helper, the invisible net catching broken dishes, overdue bills, and tantrums she never let her followers see. But when I finally spoke, I did it on my terms, with receipts, with care, without spectacle. And now that they wanted more, I gave them nothing. Not out of spite, but because some piece is too expensive to rent back to people who didn't value it the first time. I did one final interview with Tara, just audio. She asked me what I'd say to other women who've been erased, rewritten, or discarded by their own families. I said, you are not an inconvenience just because you're no longer useful to someone else's image. Being alone is not the same as being unloved. It's often the first step toward being safe. Quiet doesn't mean weak, it means measured. And when the time comes to speak so clearly they can't pretend they misunderstood. That clip got shared over 2 million times in 72 hours. I didn't know it. Monica told me later. I was too busy reading to my granddaughter over the phone. Jenna hadn't cut me off. Her child had found my number again somehow. Whispered, "Grandma?" like a lifeline through static. I kept it simple. Read her a chapter from Charlotte's Web. Didn't say anything about her mother. Didn't ask why now. I just said, "I missed your voice, sweetheart." And she whispered, "I missed yours too." So no, I didn't go on TV. Didn't sign a book deal. Didn't take the microphone now that they finally offered it. Because I didn't need a stage. I'd already built something stronger. A spine. I sat across from the therapist one last time, fingers knotted in my lap. The church group was ending for the season, and so was our weekly circle. She didn't rush me. Didn't offer small talk. Just waited. And I finally said it. She never saw me as a mother. The words tasted like rust. Not because they were wrong, because they were right. She saw me as convenience. I continued. A hand that fed her, a voice she could mute. If I gave her money, I was useful. If I stayed quiet, I was kind. But the second I asked for respect, I became the villain in her story. The therapist nodded once. Not shocked, just present. I pressed my palm flat against my chest, and I kept thinking, if I just explain myself better, maybe she'll remember I'm the one who held her through night terrors, who braided her hair before every recital, who worked double shifts just to buy her that pink bicycle she begged for. I let out a long breath. But love doesn't survive in a place where you're not seen as human. I told her about the moment I knew it for sure. It wasn't the live stream, not the door slamming or the peppermint bark in the trash. It was something smaller. A week before Christmas, Jenna posted a photo of the tree, perfectly curated, all white and gold. In the corner, blurry but there, I was bent down picking up wrapping paper, my face turned away. The caption said, "Just me and my little one this year. Chosen family only." I was in the picture. And still erased. That's when I knew. She didn't hate me, she just didn't see me. Not as a woman, not as a mother, not as a soul. Just a prop, a warm background presence until she no longer needed it. The lawyer's office was smaller than I expected. No marble floors. No shiny plaques. Just a gray file cabinet, coffee that tasted like the 1980s, and a man named David who had the kind of calm that made you want to cry. Monica sat next to me, quiet but firm. She had made the appointment weeks ago, after she spotted the forged cohabitation signature and nearly choked on her tea. "She doesn't just owe you an apology," she'd said. "She owes you access to your property, your legal rights, your name back," because Jenna had done more than lock me out. She had erased me. Quietly. Legally. And I was done being quiet. David looked over the paperwork, my original bank transfers, the cohabitation document with the timestamp discrepancy, the texts, even the live stream clip. He tapped a page with his pen and said, "This document here, this could be grounds for civil action, possibly even criminal, but I think we start simple." I nodded. I didn't want jail time. I wanted justice. "Your name's still on the deed," he continued. "She never removed it. Just hoped you wouldn't notice. That gives us leverage." I let out a slow breath. I had co-signed the house when Jenna's credit wouldn't get her the loan. She promised I could stay as long as I needed. Said it was our home. That was before she started calling me the roommate. David smiled gently. "Let's talk options. Option 1, I sell her my share. Not a chance. Option 2, I sue for misuse of property and file for formal eviction. Tempting, but messy. Public, loud. Option 3, I file a quiet title action, a legal move to reassert rightful ownership when co-ownership has been compromised by misrepresentation." It was slow, but effective. I chose option 3. Because I didn't need a victory march. I just wanted my keys back. For the next 2 weeks, David filed everything. Monica and I kept to ourselves. Meanwhile, Jenna spiraled. The apology posts grew more frantic. The sponsorships didn't return. The story was no longer hers to narrate. And me? I waited. I waited until the order came through. The court granted temporary possession of the property back to me, based on financial contributions, forged documentation, and recent displacement. Translation? She couldn't keep me out anymore, and she was now technically the one trespassing. The morning I returned, I didn't knock. I used my own key, one I had duplicated months ago, and tucked inside the lining of my purse like a quiet insurance policy. Jenna wasn't home. She was in a hotel downtown, based on her Instagram story, captioned, "Needed a mental health break. People can be so cruel, heartbreak." I walked through the front door like a ghost, reclaiming her bones. The house was still white and sterile, every corner curated like a catalog. But it wasn't a home, not anymore, not for her. And now? It was mine again. I didn't scream, didn't record it, didn't gloat. I changed the locks, packed up her things, labeled every box with care. Then I placed them neatly on the porch. Taped to the top one was a note. "You needed a house without me. Now you have one. Esther." No threats, no hashtags, just closure. Wrapped and waiting. She came screaming down the street like the whole neighborhood owed her something. Big sunglasses, phone already in hand, mascara running just enough to look accidental. I watched her through the living room window. She stood in front of the boxes, phone shaking, voice wobbling, but not with pain, with performance. She threw me out. My own mother, after everything I've done for her. This is elder abuse in reverse. That's what she said. Elder abuse. From her. I didn't step outside. I didn't need to. Because this time, I wasn't the only one watching. Monica was already on her porch next door, arms crossed. Mr. Delaney across the street had his phone out, recording. Even the woman from 3 houses down, the one Jenna always called that frumpy neighbor, stood in her front yard, arms full of groceries, frowning. Because they knew. They had seen the Christmas Eve live stream. They had seen me with bruises under my eyes from sleepless nights helping with the baby. They had seen her car pull up with boxes of PR packages while I hauled grocery bags up her icy steps. And now? They were seeing her. Not the influencer. Not the single mom warrior. Just a grown woman throwing a tantrum in the middle of a quiet Illinois cul-de-sac. She kept filming. Pan left, boxes. Pan right, locked door. Tears. Angles. All the trappings of a redemption arc. But no one came to save her. Someone from the block, I still don't know who, shouted. She kicked her mom out on Christmas. You lucky she even labeled the boxes. I covered my mouth to keep from laughing. Finally, she marched up to the door, pounded on it with her tiny manicured fist. Mom! Open the door. This isn't how we fix things. Fix? There was never a we, only me. Patching, bending, breaking quietly. And her, shattering what was left every time I hesitated to say no. I opened the door just a crack. She stopped shouting. Her camera was still recording, but her face fell when she saw mine. Calm, clean, whole. No cameras, I said. She blinked. What? I stepped fully into the light of the doorway. No cameras, no content. If you want a real conversation, put it down. She lowered the phone. Just a little. You're seriously doing this? I already did. I didn't shout. Didn't curse. Didn't cry. I just said, this is my home. I have the papers, the order, the receipts. You need to leave now, Jenna. She stared at me like she'd never really seen me before. Like maybe she was realizing I wasn't the background noise anymore. You'll regret this, she said. You just blew up our whole family. I looked at her, really looked, and I said the one thing I never thought I'd be strong enough to say. There is no family where there is no respect. Then I closed the door, slow, quiet, final. She left after that. The boxes stayed on the porch until sunset. She didn't come back for them. Maybe she wanted people to think I'd thrown her out cruelly. Maybe she hoped someone would repost the footage with a sad song and call her brave. But I didn't care. Because for once, I wasn't the one begging to be seen. I was the one standing tall. In my house, with my name on the deed, and not a single ring light in sight. She used to control every frame, every caption, every filter, every soft tear framed by fairy lights and faux sincerity. But this time, she couldn't crop the angles, because it wasn't just me watching. It was the whole block, and they had cameras too. Monica uploaded the footage first, just to our private neighborhood group chat. It wasn't meant to go viral, just proof, in case Jenna tried to twist it again. The video was barely 40 seconds long. Video cam Jenna shrieking, "She kicked me out! Look at my things." Video cam Monica calmly narrating, "Actually, you locked her out first. She just reclaimed what's legally hers." Video cam Mr. Delaney adding in the background, "Karma's got good timing this year." No yelling, no violence, just a daughter melting down while her neighbors stood still. But the clip didn't stay local. One of Monica's nieces reposted it on TikTok, captioned it, "When the internet mom gets exposed by her real mom." 1.1 million views in 12 hours. Within a day, it made its way to a drama recap channel. Then another. Then a Reddit thread titled, "Anyone else remember Christmas Grandma?" Yeah, her daughter's not looking so brave anymore. And for once, I didn't flinch. Because I hadn't filmed it. I hadn't asked for it. But it was true. Raw, ugly, unfiltered. And it stuck. She tried to fix it. Of course she did. Posted a story saying, "I'm stepping away from social media for mental health reasons. Please respect my privacy during this difficult time." Comments were brutal. "You mean your mom's difficult time? You used her and now you're embarrassed. Stepping away after you got caught? Classic. We don't want curated apologies. We want accountability." Her follower count dropped again. Another sponsor, this one a parenting brand, quietly unfollowed her. Someone leaked that her agency had placed her on pause indefinitely. She couldn't run a sympathy campaign. Not this time. The evidence was too clear. The audience too aware. They had seen the difference now, between struggle and spectacle. And most damning of all, they had seen me. Not blurred, not silenced. Just standing there, in my own doorway, refusing to play the extra in her drama any longer. Monica knocked on my door the next day with a newspaper in hand. Page 5. Influencer faces backlash over family eviction drama. No photos, no names, just the story, told plainly. A woman, locked out by her daughter, quietly reclaims her share of the home. The community watches, and this time, they side with the quiet one. "Not bad," Monica said, folding it closed. I smiled faintly. "Feels like an obituary for her fake persona." She grinned. "And a birth announcement for your spine." I didn't gloat. I didn't dance in the comment sections. I didn't reply to the new wave of emails offering interviews, book deals, podcast features. Because this wasn't a comeback. It was a correction. And those don't need applause. They need closure. So I pulled out my planner, the same one Jenna once called sad and analog, and wrote 2 words across next Monday. Start fresh. No hashtags, no likes, just peace. Mine. The sound of her voice used to follow me everywhere. On my phone. On the radio. At the grocery store checkout line. Influencer mom Jenna says she overcame a toxic childhood. Jenna's raw and real take on motherhood will move you to tears. But this week? Nothing. No new posts. No interviews. Just silence. She didn't fade. She collapsed. Monica told me first. "She's been dropped," she said over breakfast, sliding her phone across the table. Officially, it was an industry blog, one of those sites that tracks digital creators and brand partnerships. Headline: Jenna Carmichael loses sponsorships following family misconduct allegations. No spin, no excuses, just facts. The companies weren't vague anymore. They used words like misrepresentation, deceptive conduct, and breach of contract. Her agency removed her from their roster within 48 hours. A skincare line she'd worked with for 3 years archived every post that featured her face. I didn't open any of it. I just stirred honey into my tea and said, "That's what happens when you build a brand on fiction." Monica nodded. And the truth files a cease and desist. People kept sending me clips. Fan compilations titled, "When We Should Have Seen the Red Flags," commentaries dissecting every lie, reaction videos of people rewatching her content with wide eyes, whispering, "Wow, she really did use her mom like a storyline." But I didn't watch them. Not because it didn't matter, but because it didn't belong to me anymore. The exposure had done what it needed to do, and I had no interest in dragging myself back into the ashes of someone else's downfall. Let her deal with the silence she used to weaponize against me. Let her sit with the same quiet she thought I couldn't survive. I had better things to do. I spent that week repainting the guest room. Pale yellow, not for a guest, for me. The same room she used to shove all her unopened PR packages into, like a storage closet for things that didn't match her brand. Now, it had a new quilt, fresh curtains, and a shelf of paperbacks I hadn't touched in years. I opened a library account, started taking walks after dinner, met with a woman from the church who taught painting on Saturdays. We sat in folding chairs and sipped lemonade while she showed me how to blend sky into lake without the lines showing. "Like healing," she said. "Messy up close, peaceful from a distance." I smiled. That's exactly how it feels. I didn't check Jenna's social media once that week, but I did get a letter. Not a message, not a post, a handwritten note, folded small, tucked in an envelope with no return address. But the handwriting, it was hers. I lost everything, but I don't think I ever had anything real to begin with. I don't expect forgiveness. I just hope one day you'll believe I loved you in some way, even if I never knew how to show it. I didn't cry, because I wasn't reading it as a daughter. I was reading it as a woman who had learned that love, when not shown, becomes a wound, not a bond. And maybe she did love me, but that love didn't protect me. It didn't hold me when the world froze. It didn't stop her from shutting the door on Christmas Eve, so I tucked the letter in a drawer, not to forget it, but to remind myself what I will no longer settle for.